I think that access is going to be an important barrier to the way that we all do future business.
Access in what sense? Are you talking
Access to
geographical?
coffee. Access to coffee.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, the more people create those strong relationships, and the less coffee is going to be out there for the ones that are buying volume
Well,
or expecting a spot.
and it's demonstrated by you sharing that story of someone who contacted you and said, "I just want coffee. I don't care how much it costs." That's an
Mhm.
access issue. At Mapper Forward, we've always believed that the future of the coffee industry will be built through collaboration. We've been building this community through conversations on this podcast for almost 9 years. And in 2026, as we continue to grow and find more ways to encourage our listeners to build responsible businesses with responsible pricing models, we're inviting advertisers onto the podcast. If you're a small to medium-sized business looking to get visibility for your product or your brand to the global coffee industry and you share our values, email us at support@mapperforward.org or DM us on any of our social platforms to discuss our advertising packages. We're proud to amplify the signal of businesses who are already a part of the Mapper Forward ecosystem. That means you, our listeners, and we want to conspire to your success to help you grow. We accept payment in USD, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and XRP. So check the show notes for details and advertise with us today. Welcome to the Daily Coffee Pro by Map It Forward, friends. I'm your host, Lee Safar, and this is episode 4 of a wonderful 5-part series with Marianella Baez Jost from the Farmers Project. Based in Costa Rica, we are talking about coffee market volatility from the perspective of a Costa Rican coffee producer. In this episode, we're talking about direct trade. And guys, you may have noticed that we have a new advertiser, our first advertiser on the podcast, who is Cana Coffee. Matthew Thornton was on the podcast last week. We told you that we were going to start advertising Cana. Cana is a platform, and the reason I'm mentioning it is because Cana is a platform that facilitates direct trade relationships between coffee roasters, buyers of coffee, and coffee farmers in Ethiopia. And I had been telling Marianella that, about Cana because Matthew is also in the monthly discussion group for Patreon. And we were talking about what defines, like, is that really direct trade or is it not really direct trade? And it led us to a conversation about what is really direct trade. And Matthew and I spoke about it in the series. So if you are thinking about buying direct trade from Ethiopia, the harvest has started. Matthew's coming back on the podcast in a couple of months to tell us how the harvest is going. Go check out Cana, register for the platform so that you can start seeing it when farmers start registering their coffees and you can get samples. Minimum MOQ is like 20 bags. And you can go in, the platform allows you to be able to go in as a group of roasters and it helps you split that between you. So it's really, really great. But when Marianella and I were talking about it, it was this whole conversation that we went into about what defines direct trade. Because there are people out there that are saying, we do direct trade, but the farmer, the buyer and the seller are not the two only owners of the coffee. And Marianella was telling me real direct trade in her mind is the farmer and the roaster or the buyer are the only two owners of the coffee in a direct relationship. So say more about that, Marianella.
Go back to any market. If you go to a farmer's market, you're doing direct trade with that person, okay?
Mm-hmm.
But does that mean that the farmer that actually produced those mushrooms or the person that made that bread that you're buying at a farmer's market is doing direct trade with you? No. We all do direct trade every day. Lee, when you go to one of your coffee shops and get your specialty drink, you're doing direct trade with that barista.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's where the money transacted from you who's getting the product to the person that sold it to you. You're doing direct trade with that barista. So when the money or the paper, if it's dead, changes possession, there is a link, and then that's not direct trade between the producer and the person that is actually buying it. So you can give direct trade a lot of other definitions, but it's very simple. The question is, who are you paying? And receiving that good from is who you're doing direct trade with. And that's the most simple, clear, and oldest definition of direct trade. Everything else you add to it is a form of relationship trade, because maybe you do have the traceability, you do have some responsibility, you do have some impact, of course, but it's an added link to, or an added value to, direct trade. But let's not confuse it. Just look it up as ChatGPT, like you do, right? And it tells you it is the transaction between a buyer, between a producer, seller, and a buyer, period. Doesn't tell you all these other links in between. And the links could be very valid. It could be like a platform if you want to do a platform, but it is a link in there because now the transaction is through a platform, it's not direct.
No,
Anyway.
well, sort of, because the payment on our Cana is between the roaster and the farmer. So the platform gets paid after the farmer gets paid. So the money isn't exchanged, and the ownership does not happen through Arcana. All of that happens outside of it. Just the relationship building is what the matchmaking. So it's sort of like, to put it in a very crass way, it's sort of like Tinder for coffee roasters and coffee bars. But there's no money that changes hands within the app, so or the platform. Sorry, and the reason I mention it is because this is such a contentious thing in our industry. Is like, is it real direct trade? And it's like, my thing is that the more direct relationships they are, whether they're purest direct relationships or semi-direct relationships, the more direct relationships that we have, the better it's going to be for small businesses across the entire value coffee ecosystem, right? Because it just means that we're maintaining decentralization. There's so much power being concentrated to the top. We need to maintain some of that autonomy away from the top. And this is the way that we do that, right?
Totally. I am all pro any kind of relationship with the farmers. I'm very proud to be from a country that was a pioneer with wet mills. And wet mills in the 90s, micro mills, is what started to free producers from the chains of
I don't know this
market.
story. Tell me about it.
Well, Costa Rica, obviously Colombia was before. There were pioneers before, but a lot of the small farmers in Costa Rica saw what was going on in Colombia as far as farmers processing their own coffee. So the kind of what we call the micro mill revolution for Costa Rica was when some of the really great small farmers that took the risk to bring, to finance the equipment to start processing. And when you start processing, all of a sudden that added value takes you out of the cooperative or the C market
gives
lane,
you autonomy.
And now you have, you can do more with your coffee, and you can really differentiate your quality. And so that opened up the market to, hey, Costa Rica is doing some beautiful coffees, come down. And a lot of people coming and creating those relationships. So yes, of course, I'm all for that, because I have seen how the people that follow that trend have prospered. Why Farmers Project exists is because of that trend. Because 3 of our 5 farmers and many of our guest farmers, because we also bring micro lots. Usually I do 1 or 2 guests that we as a group select, and what my heart is in helping other women that have very small lots. So we bring them as a guest because the chemistry of our team is a team, and we can expand it with. I don't have any desire to become a collective or a big cooperative and get into all the bureaucracy of those things, but my point is that's what has allowed us to grow and be successful in this is because we have micro mills and we have the pulse on everything and the quality and the decision making of who processes what. Every farm has independence in knowing what varietals work best, what processes work best, but we come together, we put it all together beautifully because we have independence from the sea market world and the cooperative world. And yeah, so I'm all for relationships. I always tell the roasters, don't be afraid to reach out. And I see a lot, part of the hopefulness and the eagerness I see is how technology has facilitated so many people reaching out to us, the farmers. And then the roasters realize, you know what? That wall that I thought it existed is not that hard to climb
No.
if you find the right relationships. Because that's the biggest thing is when people want to explore direct trade, if I give you the perspective, you asked me that question as part of this. If I give you the perspective from a farmer looking at the beautiful coffee that we have and think, oh, if I could only sell it to somebody on the other side, in another country that's going to value, the first thing you see is like an impossible wall to climb. And then you start looking into it because it's like, how do I do it? And you start asking people. The first line of answers is going to be horror stories. Oh, it's so hard, and you have no idea. Such and such, this happened, and this happened, and a whole bunch of horror stories. And nobody knows anybody, but the horror stories go
Right.
generation, right? And then if you're really resilient and persistent and you go, okay, I'm going to find out the steps and I'm going to research the steps and then I'm going to go to the government to see what permits and what's the stuff, then the bureaucracy wave hits you and you're like, oh my God, what the hell? I have to do all of that. I mean, that's some of the questions I get from other people in Costa Rica. Marianella, how do I do direct trade? And I said, are you ready to endure 1 year of becoming an exporter and going through all the loops of Costa Rica alone?
Yeah.
So many of the permits and the registrations, and you got to do this, and everything takes time. And it's like, so it is scary, and it seems like a wall you can't climb. But I am very happy to see that there are a lot of people willing to go to once we see the other side, and those people from the market side come to our farms. We realize, okay, now we see eye to eye, we're going to get it done because we have a destination. Now the wall is not a cliff. We have a destination and we start working together towards that goal. And we know what that goal is going to mean. It's not just a dream, but there's a conversation of if I go that across and over that wall and we connect, I will be able to make this much money. And yes, it's worth it or not, Because you also have people that will come and tell you they want to partner with you, they want to do this, they want to do that, but then they set their terms, and then you realize, not worth it.
It doesn't work for me. Yeah.
I'm not going to be your bank. I'm not going to be your warehouse. Because some people want it as they want it, when they want it, and you got to follow everything all the guidelines they put, and deliver for them, and then you get paid. It's like, okay, we got to create a win-win here.
Well, and how does it look for you when you are meeting a potential new customer? How do you approach building trust? Because it's a trust fall to do something like this, right?
Yes. The last thing that we talk about, and probably not even our first conversations or meeting, is price. That's when you know the person is in it for the right thing.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. If you're approaching the conversation about what coffees can you get me at what price, then that's the focus of that relationship. So it's it's like if you were trying to get into the dating game and somebody says, how many dates is it going to take me to get to third base?
Yeah.
It's no good.
No chance.
How did I know that you're the one that you brought Kindles?
Hey, I am completely aligned with that value structure. The reason I ask is because, again, right now a lot of people are very desperate. right?
Yes.
Or people are seeing the writing on the wall. And I have a big belief that one of the big barriers that are going to come up, and I talked with Tim and George about this, I think that access is going to be an important barrier to the way that we all do future business.
Access in what sense? Are you talking
Access to
geographical?
coffee. Access to coffee.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, the more people create those strong relationships, and the less coffee is going to be out there for the ones that are buying volume
Well,
or expecting a spot.
and it's demonstrated by you sharing that story of someone who contacted you and said, "I just want coffee. I don't care how much it costs." That's an
Hmm.
access issue, right?
Hmm.
And so I don't think anyone's really paying attention. I'm certainly not hearing any conversations out there about this new variable that's entering our market as we see more desperation,
Hmm.
this variable of access. And
Hmm.
direct relationships is a mitigation strategy
Totally,
for
totally.
access issues. And it
Yes.
is so important. It is so, so important for people to understand your job as we move towards 2026 is to figure out how to sort out your risk.
Yes, yes. You if you haven't, if you're a small or medium roaster, if you haven't created relationships, you're really going to be standing behind the eight ball, because the the big global companies are going to take the bulk, and obviously they're going to be also, fighting for coffee in the sea market in major quantities. But for small and medium roasters, it's already a race to prepare and secure, and it's
Mhm.
in having a circle of trust. For the last, I would say, 4 years, we have been in a privileged position in which by the time we're harvesting, we're already 90% sold out of what
Right.
we're going to export, and this
Great.
is because our circle of trust is so tight
Tight.
that our customers know our consistency, they know what they want, and we commit to them, and that's it. The way things are, if you're a small or medium roaster and you don't have partnerships and strong networks to even the relationship coffee that somebody can really commit, and you can plan on forecasting and actually having that coffee deliver, if your strategy, it has no 3 to 6 month supply
Mhm. Pipeline.
security,
Mm.
yeah, you're going to be screwed, because the spot is not even going to be available.
Oh,
That's
it's
my
already
point.
very,
I mean,
very
all those
difficult to
calls
get
that have
access
come
to.
into us, I'm like, God, I wish I had coffee,
Yeah.
but we're done. We don't have any more. So yeah, a spot is not only about, oh, money is not an issue. Well, coffee is an issue. There's none.
Access. That's what I'm saying. We have one episode left to go, and in the beginning of the next episode, I'm going to talk to you guys about a very new kind of direct trade that's emerging that should concern all of us. So join us for the final episode of this series. Peace, love, and peanut butter. Have an amazing rest of your day. This episode is part of a 5-part series produced by Mapper Forward. Check the full playlist and guest details in the show notes, as well as how you can support our work in the coffee industry. Become a premium YouTube subscriber, explore our Patreon and any brands we've partnered with to bring you this podcast. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. It really does help us grow our audience.